What? Oh, word of the day. You have to do them a word of the day.
You know, the truth is, whenever I'm asked this, and I know especially this comes out of schools and colleges, I say honestly, the best word I can instill in people is the very old, simple, short word, read.
Shashi Tharoor is one of the most articulate speakers of our time. In fact, he's so good that there are so many videos online breaking his communication skills down, and they have so many views already. And a lot of these videos focused on his fluency and his language as a whole. And that's great, but we thought we'll take it a step further with this video. You see, what makes a great articulate speaker is not necessarily the words that they use or the language that they use, but how well are they able to structure their thoughts so that they can frame their ideas in an articulate manner. So I wanted to focus more on those examples and frameworks that he has used that you and I can start applying in our daily lives as well. As for vocabulary expansion, yes, we will learn how to add new words to our dictionary, but we're going to understand how to do it depending on your age, because the way a young person learns versus how a fully formed adult learns is different. And when you combine that with the frameworks and tools we're going to get into, no matter what situation you're put into, you will be able to speak in an organized manner without blanking out. This video was a lot of fun to make. We ended up seeing a lot of videos by Shashi Tharoor, so I'm excited to share the broken down tools with you. We're going to break this whole video up into 3 parts. Number 1, how to add new words to your vocabulary in a sustained manner depending on your age. Number 2, 2 frameworks to structure your thoughts and speak articulately. And number 3, 1 linguistic tool to help you sound more persuasive. And by the way, if you're new here, my name is Riddhi from Frantically Speaking. We release communications content regularly. So if you're into that, hit subscribe. And if you want to take your communications learning to the next level, you can click the link in the description to check out our courses and see if we can work together. Now, let's first talk about how to expand your vocabulary. Let's look at his story of how he does it really well.
Like, who taught you this English? Can you please tell me? And does everybody in your house speak like this?
Well, you should talk to my sisters and you can tell. I mean,
I'm just going to, but
I think they're all right. I mean, the truth is that, you know, frankly, we were all taught like this, but I'm sure that, okay, you're a bit younger than me, but nonetheless, there was a time when this was the English we were taught to speak. But I also had one advantage, or looking at it now as an advantage, is that I was an asthmatic child who couldn't go out and play and do all the things you really wanted to, including playing cricket, very often wheezing and stuck to bed. And those were the days when there was no television in the Bombay of my boyhood, or indeed, even when I got to Calcutta in high school. There was obviously no Nintendo or PlayStation, no mobile phones or laptops. Ultimately, the only thing available to you to distract yourself was books. And so I read widely and indiscriminately, and it's because of that reading that the words came. I wasn't some swot sitting up and mugging up dictionaries.
Now, you might be thinking that, oh, to expand my vocabulary, I need to read a lot of books. But hold on. Understand the process that he used while reading as well.
I actually, I was reading books, by the way, that were actually not, because I was the oldest child in the family, so there were no elder brothers and sisters the books I could borrow. So the moment I ran out of my own, or the books I'd borrowed from the library, it'll be my parents' books I had to dip into. So I wasn't even able to fully understand everything I was reading, but if I came across the same word in 4 different contexts, and 4 different stories, or 4 different books, I'd get the sense of what it meant.
Now you might be thinking, okay, let me read books and let me try to understand if a word is used again and again, the context of it, and that's how I can learn. Still no. As I said before, it depends on your age. So if you're a young person, when I say young, I mean below 20, at that time, if you develop the habit of reading, the ability to expand your vocabulary can greatly increase. But if you're a fully formed adult in your 30s, in your 40s, in your 50s, reading is a great habit to have, but it's a long, very, very long-term play in terms of building vocabulary, not the most efficient in your case. So if you're young, read books. If you're older, follow this method instead. And even if you're young, if you want a more targeted approach towards expanding your vocabulary, just hear this entire method out. It's called the Sustainable Vocabulary Expansion Method, and it's broken down into 4 steps. Step 1, go on to ChatGPT and type this prompt. I'm trying to expand my vocabulary. I need 1 word from you that is relevant to the workplace. Now, just by the way, you can switch workplace to any other situation. Small talk, presentation, whatever it might be. I'm currently 30 years old and my English level would be intermediate. The reason why we add our age and the level of English, whether it's beginner, intermediate, or advanced, is so that ChatGPT can understand and have a little more context on us and recommend a word to us accordingly. Now comes step 2, which is also part of the same prompt, but the reason I've kept it a separate step is because it's very important. We need to add this. Make sure you just give me one word without its meaning. Instead, provide me with a sentence that utilizes that word and the pronunciation breakdown. Let me guess the meaning of the word. If I'm incorrect, give me another sentence, but do not provide me with the meaning. Okay, that's your entire prompt. Send it out. And let's say you get this word. You then want to try to guess the meaning of the word. There are one of two things that can happen. One is you might already know the meaning of this word, or you might think this word is irrelevant to you. In that case, just ask it for another word. Second, you might still not be able to guess the meaning based on the sentence provided, in which case you want to ask for more sentences. Once you can get some idea of the meaning, you want to type it down and ask, hey, is this the meaning of the word? If you're right, I'll tell you what to do. If you're wrong, ask it for more sentences. Do not ask the meaning of the word. This is known as context-based expansion, similar to what Shashi Tharoor said. When he would come across the word again and again, that's how he picked up its meaning, which allows us to remember the words and not spoon-feed our mind with just a ton of dictionary-based definitions. Step 3, once you have your one word, stop. Do not do this exercise again for that entire day. Instead, open up your phone or any area that you take regular notes in and write down the word along with its meaning. That time, simply open that note up, read it right before you go to sleep. The reason we do this is because when you read something right before sleeping, the chances of you remembering it are much higher. And step 4 is the most important. The following day, you want to ensure that you use this word at least one time in either a workplace meeting, a casual conversation, or any form of written communication like an email. The last one is the easiest to do, but you can also use it in the first two. This allows us to actually practice utilizing the word in an actual situation. The more we're able to do that with one word, the more used to we get to that word, and hence they become part of our actual vocabulary, and they're not just a word that we one time learned and forgot about. But beyond learning new words, what if you're put on the spot under pressure? And forget about using a better vocabulary, you're not able to speak up in a structured manner. You tend to blank out in those situations. This happens a lot when we're asked a question under pressure. So for that, we're going to understand the framework that you have to use to sound more articulate even under pressure. Let's look at an example of this question that Shashi Tharoor was asked.
Sending the delegation was the same thing what P.V. Narasimha Rao ji did, sending Atal Bihari Vajpayee Saab.
Now, instead of just answering in one sentence or going on and on in a complete different story, he uses one of my favorite answering frameworks over here called as CAD. The C in CAD stands for context. So he first starts by providing context to the overall question.
There are three kinds of precedents. There is certainly the fact that in 71, in the lead up to what became the Bangladesh War, Indira Gandhi sent some of her major critics out, including J.P. Narayan, as emissaries to foreign countries, to explain to them what India was going through with the refugee influx and the Pakistani genocide in Bangladesh. Second, P.V. Narasimha Rao asking Vajpayee Saab to lead the delegation to Geneva, where the UN Human Rights Commission was having a discussion on Kashmir. And the third example is 2008, after Mumbai, parliamentary delegations were sent out by the Manmohan Singh government as well.
So this context helps to establish his knowledge before he dives into his answer, which is the A in the framework.
So it is, in that sense, not unprecedented to do this.
And finally, move on to D, which are the details.
But this was the most extensive and ambitious venture of this kind. We sent out a total of 58 MPs to 7 different regions. Each delegation went to at least 2 or 3 countries. In my case, my delegation went to 5. And you know, it was in many ways a good way of showcasing our unity and our diversity, political as well as other. I had 8 in my team, including a retired ambassador. Of the 8, we had 8 different states, 5 different political parties, and 3 different religions. And that too is a message in itself.
This framework is great because it allows you to showcase your knowledge, then move on to your answer as opposed to just putting out the answer forthright, and finally helps you to elaborate on it a lot more if required. But what if you're put in the situation where you have to be more to the point, more direct, and you don't really have the time to provide so much context, and the person in front of you wants the answer ASAP? In that case, there's another framework that we can utilize. It's called PREP. PREP stands for point, reason, example, and point again. So it means when you have to convey a particular idea, you want to start by directly providing the point, moving on to a reason, giving an example, and finally concluding with the point again. Let's watch Shashi Tharoor putting this into action. In this one speech, he's talking about how the British Raj negatively impacted India's economy. So he starts off with the point.
Well, I stand to offer you the Indian example, Sir Richard. India's share of the world economy when Britain arrived on its shores was 23%. By the time the British left, it was down to below 4%.
A point needs to be short. He then moves on to the reason.
Why? Simply because India had been governed for the benefit of Britain. Britain's rise for 200 years was financed by its depredations in India. In fact, Britain's industrial revolution was actually premised upon the deindustrialization of India.
He then gives an example.
The handloom weavers, for example, famed across the world, whose products were exported around the world, Britain came right in. There were actually these weavers making fine muslin, light as woven air, it was said. And Britain came right in, smashed their thumbs, broke their looms, imposed tariffs and duties on their cloth and products, and started, of course, taking the raw materials from India and shipping back manufactured cloth, flooding the world's markets with what became the products of the dark and satanic mills of Victorian England.
And then finally concludes with the point again.
That meant that the weavers in India became beggars, and India went from being a world-famous exporter of finished cloth into an importer, went from having 27% of world trade to less than 2%.
Now, these frameworks are wonderful because they help you speak in a structured manner, even if you're put on the spot. But there's one tool that not just Shashi Tharoor, but a lot of great speakers utilize over and over again, which does not really require a framework. It barely even requires any practice, but it helps you sound so much more persuasive, not just articulate. This is known as the rule of 3, and it simply means to speak in a factor of 3. For example, I came, I saw, I conquered. Government, of the people, by the people, for the people. And the reason why the rule of 3 works is because it's the smallest number required to create a pattern. And we as humans love listening to patterns. We are a lot more adept at remembering them as opposed to something that's said just once, twice, or beyond 3 times. Here are some examples of Shashi Tharoor using the rule of 3.
We are a country focused on development. We are a country focused on growth, on technology. By the end of the 19th century, the fact is that India was already Britain's biggest cash cow, the world's biggest purchaser of British goods and exports, and the source of highly paid employment for British civil servants. We literally paid for our own oppression.
Now, here are some examples that you might utilize in a general situation as well. Switching to this tool will save us time, reduce errors, and make collaboration effortless. Upskilling the team will boost productivity, improve retention, and future-proof our capabilities. So the next time you're writing an email, you have a presentation to give, or you're pitching an idea, try to incorporate the rule of 3 into it. It'll help make that segment a lot more memorable and help you sound a lot more articulate. But it's not always about just sounding like you have a great vocabulary. It's also about infusing humor to make you a more likable communicator. If you want to know how to do that, we've created an entire video using the example of Akshay Kumar that you can check out right here.